Okay, that should give me enough time for the mic to catch up. Okay, so these fights are going to be with the summons, like I said in my description, and they are the Grimorian version of each of the summons that are key to the Final Fantasy series. Now, it's argued when they each appeared. Some of them appeared at different stages in the series' history, but the very first time that they were available as actual summons was Final Fantasy III, and that was only with a couple of them. It was Shiva, Bahamut, and Ifrit, I believe, if I remember right. Leviathan might have been a summon, if I remember, or Leviathan was as early as Final Fantasy IV. But again, we're talking Final Fantasy III, Final Fantasy IV. The summons had existed before that. Bahamut had existed as a creature of the deep, Leviathan as well, but they were boss fights. And the series, as it has progressed, excuse me, as the series has progressed, there's been different iterations on how the summons work. You know, you'd always have something like a Shiva or an Ifrit, and a lot of those would have a lot of the mythology behind them. Shiva being the goddess of destruction, ice, etc. That's a very common theme. Um, Again, it's a little bit more complicated because the actual mythology, Shiva is a little bit different, but in as far as the source material, but Shiva is not one of those that Shiva and Ramu and Ifrit you actually encounter much earlier. We're talking Leviathan, we're talking Bahamut, we're talking Odin. Um, Odin is also a huge staple. Odin, I believe the first time that Odin officially appears as a recruitable summon is Final Fantasy V, if my memory of the series is correct. People who are much better at lore than even me would be able to say, hey, like, no, this isn't right. Um, but, again, Odin's a fairly intense fight. Bahamut's these are all very intense late game fights, but so we're gonna just kind of tick them off in order, specifically with Bahamut right away to start off with, because I know one of my friends, Hyper Pixie, she really likes dragons, and I had promised her that I was going to get gameplay footage of fighting a dragon. It's one of the very few actual dragon fights that exist um, in the game, as far as like an actual, like, legit dragon fight. Bahamut is in the universe of Final Fantasy is the god of dragons, and also one of the most powerful summons in Final Fantasy IX. It is the penultimate summon. There is no other Gaian summon that is equally powerful. Um, they're called Eidolons. In Final Fantasy VII, actually, there's several iterations of Bahamut. There's Bahamut Zero, there's Bahamut Sub Zero, etc. There's like 3 or 4 of them that you can get at any one time. And again, the series is different. In Final Fantasy VIII, Bahamut was one of the hardest fights in the game. It's this optional zone that once you get the airship, which again, it's a trope that has to do with Final Fantasy, or well, JRPGs specifically, but Final Fantasy as a subset of JRPGs. Um, that subset with the airship and everything, meaning it's an end game location in an end game fight, and in order to fight Bahamut, in order to get to Bahamut, you had to go through all of his dragon lieutenants, which dragon fights in Final Fantasy VIII are no joke. You have to fight ruby dragons, which are some of the most intelligent AI in the game they're hard, and you have to answer all of his questions correctly, and you also have to, there's this pulsing globe thing that increases your enemy rate like astronomically, and basically none of the abilities that you would normally have are available to kind of mitigate that. Normally there's like encounter half, encounter none, etc., etc. None of those work. So you have to figure out how you're going to get to the center of the pulsing radius where Bahamut is waiting for you. As you're going along, you answer these questions, and if you answer wrong, you have to fight a red dragon, or ruby dragon, but red dragon. You have to fight a red dragon, and if you answer correct, you have to fight a red dragon. And if you answer wrong, you fight a red dragon, go through all that process. He asks you again until you get it right. And then you answer the 3 or 4 questions correctly in a way that advances the quest. And then Bahamut is actually, compared to his buddies and everything else, is much more of a pushover. It's basically just knowing the mechanics. Excuse me. Sorry about that. It's basically just knowing the mechanics that once you're timing, there's this thing called Mega Flare, which again we will see in this upcoming fight. I'm just explaining some of the lore ahead of time, so I don't have to try and do that while I'm also balancing the fight and dying a lot. I am a high level, but again, I won't be talking as much during the actual encounters. So, as you're preparing for the fight, basically the key is he does this countdown that, you know, is either 5 or whatever, or 3 or some odd number, and then he does this attack called Mega Flare, and that's one of the more powerful summon abilities in general. And yeah, so we'll get started.
Want some tea? What now?
Excuse me.
Whose soul will you touch?
Ow. I hope I didn't cough you guys' ears out. Alright, we're gonna restrain Bahamut. And it's different depending on each person, how they pronounce it, and...
So it's been the...
Yeah, and then this is the ruins where the home used to be. It's hard to imagine, blah blah blah. Rawr, what the rawr? Or should I call you Kia Bobo? You lost your mind. Bah. You the old servant me. One servant. You can forget those two. Right? They're the diet. Let's concoct the names to spice up their old prophecy. Brandless and yep. There's gods that feed solely on death and destruction, gods that are beings, and it's a little bit more about the lore, but again, first summoners ascending. Yep. Yep, and then Brandless is becoming X9 Knight. He's not me, I'm the Drew King, the Bahamut King, Tia Bibble the Great. Why are we fighting? And this Bahamut's angry, so...
What the?
What the?
So the demon diehard thing, that was talking about us, huh?
Yeah, I kind of figured as much by now, to be honest.
Oh, Rain. Do I have to remember my past if it's this much of a train wreck?
Well, hang on. From what Wynn was saying, weren't most of our crimes against humanity caused by these troublemakers?
Why don't you ask me? What are you two doing here?
Would you quit it? You really need a lesson in anger management.
I need what?
Oh,
I
also,
need what?
you should forget about messing with the heralds. It's true, you can't win.
I shall just have to slaughter you in order to prove just how wrong you are.
Alright, let's examine him. Yep. Let's see. Put the patient down. Yeah. And he's not going to do any of his big tricks until much, much later on. But hopefully, if I play my cards right, he's gonna. This fight's gonna not go all the way up to that. Up to that step, but we'll see. Because these fights are a little bit longer as far as actual HP and everything. But yeah, this bomb is, you know, dragon, angry, no breathing fire. Well, not literal fire anyway. The Mega Flare is about as high powered as it gets. Touch that. Yep. Ow. Except for he does that. I forgot about that.
This'll do.
Alright. Well.
Take this!
Do 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 do. Yeah, so I'm just gonna kind of hammer away at him for a little bit, kind of just work on getting some of my EXP up, or my EXP, my AP. Again, it won't. Let's see. Did he miss? Okay, good. All right. Yeah. Yep. So, like I was saying about the timer, essentially he's gonna count down, and you're gonna want to make sure with all of these flare type activities with these dragon types that you protect yourself. But he has he has a countdown of 5, so I'm gonna try and hit him with a few things of magic before that. Try and work on some of these attacks. And then start guarding right about when he counts down to 4. Yeah, so he's gonna count down to 4, and now I'll start guarding. 4 or 3. Yeah, that'll give me enough time to guard properly, to prepare myself. And And then you will be able to see his Mega Flare activity. Here, his Mega Flare attack. So yeah, we'll just keep guarding. Let him count down. Alright, Mega Flare. Yep, this is the Mega Flare ability that is pretty much common
You're
with
making me really mad!
pretty much common with every single Bahama type. He does a breath flare attack, and in this case it has a fancy animation style, and it usually takes a fair amount of HP off of, yeah, so it hit for about 2,000, and it would hit for a whole lot more if I had not been guarding and protecting myself. I think it unguarded, it hits for anywhere from 3,000 to 4,000. So yeah, again, it's not really something, you know, and then it's a balancing act, of course. Yeah. So chipping away at his HP. Oh, beautiful. Let's see. Oh, I suppose I could hit you with Vanisher. That won't hit him for quite as much, but that should help. Ow. And then that should make this fight a lot faster. It's still going to be a while because he has a lot of HP, but yeah, I mean, especially once you know their abilities and their weaknesses and everything, that's very, very helpful. Especially later on. Holy shnikey. That is awesome. I was not aware that that was even a thing. That's great. Yeah, I don't think I have any light magic. Nope. No light magic. But I think he's barely, yeah, it's about 1,000. That'll help chip away at him. So yeah, so we're just kind of doing that.
Not done yet.
12,000. Healing, making sure he's at max HP. just in case.
There!
Yeah, we really don't want to get double unstacked. That would be very, very bad. Especially in fights like these. These fights are these fights can get really brutal if you you're almost dead. I just need a little bit of a boost.
There!
That should be enough. Once I should be able to not even trigger trigger his second wave of his attacks. But we'll see. What? Yeah. Alright, good. Now, hopefully... hit you.
Okay!
Oh, well, maybe not. Okay. I guess not. We did not quite wipe him out within two damage phases, but this is a lot shorter than it was before, because the first time I took him on, I mean, I survived, like, I don't know how I did it, but I survived like 3 or 4 damage phases with him deciding to do his Mega Flare nonsense. Yeah.
You're making me really mad!
So, and when they were talking about Esperus and stuff, in the lore of Grimlock and everything, basically,
Take this!
there's the tribe of Bahamut is actually several godlike beings that include Brandalus, who I have in some of my other playthroughs have encountered, and
Well, that ought to do it.
That wasn't so bad.
and Brandalus is self-appointed as the king of Bahamut, the Bahamut Federation. And basically, he, as part of this prophecy and everything like that. And of course, there has not been a challenge and a domination and everything. And that's just the way of things. And, yeah, and then when did you ever gain such strength? Yeah. So yeah, and then now I fought him, and now basically I'm just trying to get all these.
Did we actually?
Yeah. So they've just taken theirs. Yeah. Yep. Yep. And now I've imprisoned 2 of them because I am playing from a new game plus mode. So yeah. Alright, and then we're gonna save, which it will take me to a microphone, but that's fine. Quick, and then we will move on now. Okay, so
Welcome. What now?
now
Whose
we
soul
will
will you
move
touch?
on to the next one. Phoenix Minions. Alright. Now, so up next is Diablos. Now, Diablos in this universe is a god of fantasy. And basically, so when they're talking fantasy meets reality, all that fun stuff, essentially, the girl who forgot her name is a god. She's very, very powerful, just like Endercrow is. They're all extremely powerful beings. And the Diablos are basically gods of dreams, but they're also demons. And so that's a big thing. And in a lot of the other Final Fantasies, including Final Fantasy XIV, essentially, Diablos had their own dream-like reality that you ended up going into and challenging and ultimately proving your worth against all of their illusions and some of their trickery and some of the most cruel ways that it can happen. And essentially that's what this upcoming story is going to be, is you're going to end up fighting a gravity-based demon, essentially. So, on we go. But we can kind of skip forward just a little bit, and then it's almost time. And she's gonna be tempted from memories of her own past. Yeah, around the same hour.
Strange.
What I look like? You fit the description. Oh, a demon then.
Demon Dyad's servants from a century ago. Diabolos.
I'm a what now? Oh, I see. So Grimoire decided those two were demons, huh? But how does them being demons make me a demon too? Their servant!
So then tell me why you would show up now, amidst such chaos.
You know why I've come. A servant of demons has no purpose but this. Furthering the chaos.
Then, I must punish you in the keep.
Wait, what?
You're facing us now.
Huh? Oh, it's you two. What are you doing here?
Oh, you know, just butting into.
Yeah, what Rain just said. We're rearing our ugly ends.
What's that even mean? Wait, where am I? What strange place have you taken me?
Ha ha ha! We've got him sweating now.
No matter. Let's see if either of you runs is still any good.
Yep. Let's see. Yep. Pretty much all of these things are weak against light, so dun da 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 dee, dun dun. Yeah. And this is the first iteration when you're fighting him. He's much harder the second time in this part of the... But, like a lot of these boss fights, he's a lot harder the second time. But... you know, that's what they said about... That's what they said about...
You won't wait for me.
That sucks. Nice. Yep, so now we're gonna use an antidote though, so needlessly keeping her poisoned. Right. Pick me up.
Yeah.
Alright. And then like I said, just getting through this opening fight, which is much easier than the first time around. This is actually much more similar to how it is in Final Fantasy VIII when you go into his pocket realm. There's basically a magical lamp that you rub, and if you're prepared, then you end up fighting Diablos, and Diablos is scaled to your level. So, if you take him on at a much higher level, he's a lot harder because all the enemies in Final Fantasy VIII scale to your level.
Predictable.
And when they scale to your level, they also give better magic. So, like, let's say you were taking Diablos on at, let's say, level 10 or something like that. Well, their magic's not going to be as good. I think it's like Demi, maybe Quake, or something like that. And it's like on 10-minute interval, or 10 intervals of 10. And obviously, if you're taking him on at like level 20 or 30, he's gonna have a little bit more health, but he's gonna be a little bit more manageable. By that point, you're gonna have most of your abilities set up. You're gonna have most of your things set up in a way that you can pretty easily overcome him. And once you encounter him, then you can steal better items, and once you
Shulk.
So you can get like a hero or something like that, which grants invulnerability and stuff, and is a really rare item at that point in the game. He is one of the best Guardian Forces that's optional that you can recruit, because he is the only one for a very, very long time that gives you the Mug ability. He is the only one that gives you the Encounter Half, None, etc., etc., those abilities. And I Want You Dead. Yep. And then
Whoa, you are the worst kind of sleazy creep. How dare you peep at people's thoughts without asking them? And you think it's okay to twist her weaknesses around when the poor girl doesn't even know it's real? You scum!
Scum? Wait, hold on. Didn't we settle this last time? Last time? Yes, we did just fight. Why am I only remembering these things now?
Oh, interesting.
When he left this place, do you think his memory got some kind of readjustment to match the world he went back to? Oh, I get it. So then, the reason we forgot about Grimoire is surprisingly simple. It's because we left it.
Huh? Hey, Rain, what's up?
Oh, it's nothing. I'm just starting to piece together how this power of fantasy thing affects our memories.
Huh?
The power of fantasy? Rubbish. That is my tribe's domain. Now I see. Guardians of Time have been busy. Fine. If that's how you want to play, then so be it. Come on!
Oh, good times. So yeah, that's essentially Guardians of Time are these beings that are basically the girl who forgot her name is one of those beings, and they've basically been stealing, for lack of a better word, they've been basically stealing the power from more malevolent beings like the Diabloses of the world. And they've been basically getting it so that it's actually being used for good, more or less. That's the extremely simplified version of something that's actually surprisingly complicated, but yeah. So yeah, we fought off some of his tribe before, which is basically imps. All those are his tribe. Okay, you can stop with the poison nails nonsense. I'd appreciate it. Alright. Let's hit up a Remedy Plus.
This'll do.
Then let's hit up a Remedy. Yeah. That. There we go. Okay, and then hit you fully.
I've got this.
Take this!
Yeah, and now that I'm facing him in his final form, he should be a whole lot easier to actually hurt physically than last time. But yeah, Gravity is a pretty standard ability from all the Diablos encounters. In fact, actually, I know for a fact that's something that carried over from Final Fantasy XIV. So, some of you that are Final Fantasy XIV players that have actually taken on Diablos will recognize that for sure. And yeah, so it's pretty much hallmarks from the series. Ow. Let's see. Well, eye drops.
Okay.
Yeah, and the stars that are over there in the background, because I have those characters
You won't wait.
with the champion level and everything, and the champion medals equipped, I can't summon other champions. Essentially, that's just one of the exchanges of power. Okay. That's just one of the exchanges of power that one of the, you know, can't have your cake and eat it too, as it were. So, But yeah, these fights are actually going a lot faster than I thought they were going to.
Voila!
Voila! Better heal though. Yeah. Okay, let's choose holy. Holy, holy, holy. There we go.
This'll do it.
You won't wake from this. Despair.
There we go. Get you holy. Ah, so close. So close, but so far. There we go. Got it. Okay. So,
No! I lost again. Well, fine. You can boss me around.
I love
like you used
Lan's
to.
just celebrating.
Well, I don't remember too much about the things we used to have you do, but if you can keep it in check, then maybe you can have some fun.
Huh.
Yep.
What just... I might just be imagining it, but if you helped me out, thank you. Rain, Lann.
Yep. That's what we do. Alright. Yep, leave it. Yep. Alright. So, yeah, this one I should be able to get some abilities. Like Meteor, for example. It's one of the very few one of the very few Mirages that actually has Meteor as an ability. So, it's very helpful to do that. Oh, I might be able to max this one out. That'd be pretty cool. Yeah, and again, as I'm going for some of the trophies, like, you know, maxing out 100, maxing out 100 different, maxing out 100 different boards and all that. That's one of the things that I am definitely going to be putting to my advantage. A little bit more HP. There we go. Okay, so next on the list, actually, let's unequip that. So, yep, because I don't necessarily need any of the champion, but Esuna is very helpful. So we're gonna do that so that we can actually use some of the champion medals that we have. So Raffia can actually probably swap. Yeah, let's swap to a couple magic based. Get away. Yeah, let's do that. There we go. Okay, and then we'll... Alright. Now, next thing, we're gonna take on... Leviathan, I believe, is next.
What now?
In order.
Whose soul will you touch?
Okay, so... Yeah, so, Sea Demon Leviathan. Now, Leviathan is one of the earlier summons that manifested herself. Now, I say herself because in World of Final Fantasy, it's definitely a woman, and it's actually voiced by Claudia. I believe Claudia Gray, I believe is her name. But again, very famous actress. If you've seen any of the Star Wars or any of the space opera stuff. She was in Star Wars. She was in Stargate, especially, as one of the archaeologists and stuff. And very, very famous, very, very talented voice actress with a very distinctive British know-it-all attitude. And I'm so sick of this. Yeah. So Leviathan is actually from mythology. Is actually the first iteration of Leviathan that we know about is actually referenced in the Old Testament. And in the Old Testament, it is referenced as a gigantic beast of shadow and the water and the storm. And that particular creature is then later, in the translations, later attributed as the Leviathan. And again, there's different opinions about what, what the interpretations can be. And then as far as when it's translated into Greek in the New Testament, from Greek into English, and all those other languages, when Leviathan comes back. And what does Leviathan look like? And of course, because Final Fantasy, like a lot of JRPGs, borrows very, very, very heavily from mythological sources, such as Leviathan, such as Bahamut, such as Tiamat, such as Odin, all of these mythological figures. That's essentially what this is all about. So, and Faris is a character from Final Fantasy V. Now, in Grimoire, Faris doesn't remember any of the events that happened in Final Fantasy V. Doesn't know, is connected to Sildra, but doesn't really know all of her identity stuff, and certainly is not really a masculine, can basically be masculine without, and not really have any of that pretending and everything that is very present in the storyline of Final Fantasy V, and definitely does not encounter her sister that we know about. Again, unless there's a sequel that ever comes out, her sister is not referenced at all in the storyline of this game. And her sister has been separated from her, etc., etc., etc. And yeah, this is basically a vengeance call, and gonna challenge her, and then she's going to not in 1,000 years, and then she swoops down.
What now? Where am I? What is this?
It's a fantasy, where dreams and reality and time all touch. But don't ask me to explain what that means exactly.
I guess you might say, when somebody fights our friends, we tag in. You get it?
But how can... Oh, you two. How many long years have passed?
Can't tell you that, but did we really used to know each other?
Forget all that. Faris thinks you killed her great-grandpa and Sildra's family. Is that really true?
Well, honestly, I'm not altogether certain myself. As I recall, when Tycoon's crew was attacked by Bismarck's forces, on a whim, I may have helped them to defend themselves. Once I left, any number of villains could have done them in. But that's no concern of mine.
Then you mean Ferris and Sildra are mistaken?
So why not just tell them as much?
If their hatred for me has been festering all this time, then I cannot calm the waves by telling them it was all a big misunderstanding. As such, the wisest course of action is to accept their challenge, to let them break themselves against me.
The way you're making it sound, you know they're fighting over nothing, but you still won't let them win? Really?
Why would I let them win? I am not beholden to them. They chose this.
Then I've got bad news.
To fight them, you have to go through us.
Well, that can be easily arranged.
Yep. So, first thing we're gonna do is figure out what her elemental weaknesses are. I believe it's thunder. Yeah. Absorbs water. Thunder's the most weakest. And the negatives are going to be the higher. Basically, it's going to be 0 and up. And so that means that they absorb and heal water, which makes sense because, god of the deep and everything else. So, 68,000. Okay, so that's not terrible. It's still going to be a while, but it's not going to be as bad. Now, we're actually tried Meteor, so I don't know if Meteor actually does much. Oh, that's not actually bad.
Take this!
Once we get to a certain threshold, once we get to a certain threshold in health, then she's gonna start doing her tidal wave, which is her special attack, which is again a carryover from a lot of the other Final Fantasy games that existed. Oh. That's awesome. However, actually, let's hit you. Yeah.
Not done yet! This is the special ability called Tidal Wave. That is a carryover from...
Feel the wrath of the sea. Tidal Wave!
That is a carryover from 8 slash tidal wave. It's some variant thereof, but it's always something where they rise up into the sky and then all of a sudden big whoosh wave. Yeah, so I knew that at some point that was going to happen. We were going to eventually see, yep, the tsunami is their non-special attack.
Withstand this!
Ow. Alright. Well, hopefully that does it. Actually, it's probably smarter to hit the wobble stopper first, so I don't get stacked. Okay, get you with another wobble stopper.
This'll do.
And then, what we're gonna do is hit you. I don't know if that'll finish you off or not. No, not quite. Whoops.
Huh?
That it? Awesome.
That was a good fight.
Alright. Well, and that'll give me enough that I can quick buy another half mega potion, so I have been slain! Oh yes, victory is yours! You have succeeded in avenging your... Alright, let's go home. Good times. Alright. So, and then eventually we'll get to the others, but there we go. Good. And then... Alright. We are almost there. Just need to do
Morning.
just a little bit of prep before the next big fight. Sure. Sell these for now. I don't need any of those. Yep. There we go. And then buy one of you. And then there we go.
Have a fantabulous day!
All right. Okay, now okay.
Hello. What now? Whose soul will you...
Okay, so now Odin. Now Odin in Final Fantasy, the first time you really see Odin is Final Fantasy 6 or 7. I mean, he makes some appearances prior to that, but he's really noticeable in Final Fantasy 7 and Final Fantasy 6, and then Final Fantasy 8 is when he's an optional summon, like I had talked about. And as an optional summon, he just kind of shows up whenever. And then one of the big things is, as long as you get him before a certain point in the story, then you can get Gilgamesh automatically, because he will show up. And he almost never shows up during boss fights in Final Fantasy VIII, except for one boss fight against a guy named Seifer, and Seifer ends up killing him, and then the fight goes on, fight goes on, and then Gilgamesh comes in to replace later on in the fight and end the fight. And then after that point, Gilgamesh is a random occurring guardian force taking over for Odin. Now, in true Final Fantasy fashion, Odin is different than almost all the other guardian forces, Eidolons, whatever name you're going to call them. In Final Fantasy IX, basically their attack is called the Gungnir Lance, which is instantaneously killing everything as long as it is applicable with an instant death kill. Now, there's some enemies that won't immediately die, and they'll just take a ton of damage. But generally it's helpful for like some, especially when you're grinding in Final Fantasy IX, there's these dragons that are very, very tough. And if you can summon Odin a few times with Dark Matter, then, and learn that particular ability, excuse me, then it's very, very helpful. And it's very similar that he wants to test his mettle against, and he speaks in Old Tongue and everything like that. And he has Sleipnir, and he looks very inhuman. He looks like a swordsman. So that is basically what the gist is before we fight.
Sure. You've hurt a lot of people.
They call me a butcher? Rubbish. I merely challenge fools who would be challenged, and they die.
Then you're not very sporting. Every one of your victims was cut down without a fight.
He who lives by the sword must be quick to draw it. Truly, They met with no foul play. If they expired without a struggle, that attests to their dearth of skill and not my lack of honor. It is a troubling thought to be gone less than a century and return to find swordsmanship so diminished. Troubling indeed.
How poetic. If it's a challenge you're looking for, why don't you see how you and your principles fare against me?
Your spirit is impressive. Let us begin.
What?
Sorry, dude. There's been a change in the lineup.
You really ought to know better than to butcher people.
I remember you. To fight again after so long would be a thrill. But you catch me as my blood quickens for another. My first worthy foe in ages. This trickery. This space in which you have confined me. I'll not be detained.
What is... Lon! Get out of the thing's way!
Oh, dude!
Zan, Tets, Ken.
Yep.
Oh, missed by a hair. Good. You're the strongest warrior I've crossed swords with in years. And yet, 'twould be poor form to pursue this now. Find a new blade, and we shall continue this test of our might.
Looks like this won't be as easy as I thought.
Yep. Oh, good times. I love the voice
Does
acting.
he have a weakness? You're taking on Odin?
Yeah. I heard that you have experience with the Dyad servants. Basically, anything you can tell me would be a big help.
Odin. Oh, got it. It's just an old rumor, but...
At last. You would try me with the same sword that failed you before?
Yeah. Except, I thought I'd mix things up.
That girl. She looks like Ramuz.
It's his grandkid.
Grandkid!
Grandkid!
I see you've been sniffing about. Is this the best you can muster?
Yep.
I'm you.
What's wrong? Suddenly you don't look so hot.
Silence. Make your peace before I cleave you in twain.
Yep. One of my favorite lines.
What do we have here?
Is
Odin
wonderful.
afraid of a
Why
Rito
would you
White?
like it?
Hey, that reminds me. Wasn't old Ramu the only one you never had the guts to go head-to-head with?
Whoa! Dude, is that true?
What I cower before no one.
What? I cower before no one. Yep. Yeah, we gotta try and finish this fight as quick as possible because the longer it goes, then he'll do an instant death attack thing, which is very, very annoying. And there's not really a whole lot you can do about it.
Here goes.
Because it does Tentsuken, that attack. Yeah. just gonna hit him like 2, 3, 4 times. Well, 3 times, I guess, because there's only 3 arcs, but yeah. Just try to hit him with something that'll take out like a huge percentage of his health.
Magic laser. Ready to fire.
And debuff.
Here goes.
Yep. This stupid attack. Ow. Not what I wanted. Hit you with holy. Okay.
Yeah.
There we go.
Okay.
Take this.
This'll do.
This is it.
Well, in this, thankfully with the champion system, it should be fairly easy to beat this fight, but we'll see.
Perfect.
That it? Awesome. One phase. Yes.
Good. This shall forever stand as proof that your skill surpasses mine. I'm pleased to have met so fierce a warrior. Ours was a duel to remember.
That's for sure. But it was a close one. At least, no more travelers will get shorn in two. Ramule, I owe you one.
Ramule!
Oh, and I guess I owe Lon and Rain a thank you as well, wherever they are. Now then,
Yep. Oh man, I love Lightning so much. She is one of my all-time favorite. She's one of my all-time favorite characters. Okay. So in the entirety of Final Fantasy. So, I'm gonna save one more time. And look at a couple lore entries quick before I am done for the night. Yep. So, there we go. And then quick look at some of these abilities. Go. Alright, so I think that was a pretty satisfactory lore lesson. I will record some more later on, and stay tuned to this channel. Alright, thanks for watching. Alright, talk to you later. Bye.